The 2010 grand finalists haven't had an easy run this season. Some big losses early on saw them enter last week's grand final rematch very much the underdogs. To go down by just a point was cruel, but for a team that's been sitting second to bottom on the ladder for 5 weeks, perhaps not such a bad result. Entering round 8, the Eagles were poised to steal second place from the Magpies, who were playing just across Port Road at Alberton. All they needed to do was win, and that's where it all went wrong. This is the time of year when we see significant changes in the fortunes of all teams in the under-18s. It's that time when they lose players returning to college football. It definitely had an impact at the Woodville Oval. Ahead at every break, Westies broke the drought with their first win since round 2, and coach Greg Mellor was accordingly delighted. And none more so than with the efforts of Caden Brand. Caden earned the respect of his coach, the praise of the fans, and a Macca's Cup MVP nomination. His match-high 36 disposals coming at just the right time for the Bloods, 22 kicks and 14 handballs, and Caden controlled the ruck with 19 hitouts. Add to those stats 12 marks for the match, and it's not hard to see why Caden was voted best across all clubs for round 8. From the Berry Demons in the Riverland, the 17-year-old certainly looks like he's got what it takes to help West Adelaide return to more familiar territory, the top 5. On target for West was Scott Kumnick. Scott moved up from the under-16s to play his first game at this level, and he won't forget it in a hurry. Captain of the Happy Valley Football Club, Scott was cleared to play for West in February this year. Looks like he's enjoying the move, with 4 goals on Saturday, including this one deep into the final term, essentially nailing the lid on the Eagles' coffin. The Eagles were well served by Carl Muller from the Smosh Westlakes Club. And for those of you who don't know, that's St Michael's Old Scholars and Hindmarsh Westlakes. We'll just call them Smosh. Carl was best on ground for the Eagles with 14 disposals and 5 marks, but it was goals that the Eagles needed, and the Bloods scored more of them. In only their second win for the season, it was West by 20 points over the Eagles. If you were really keen, you could have headed straight over to Alberton Oval for the Port Norwood clash. Kicking off at 11:30, perhaps the most significant clash and rivalry round was between 2 of the oldest clubs in the league. They may have been rivals for well over 100 years, but in more recent times it's been Port Adelaide calling the shots in the under-18s. Grand finalists in the inaugural year of the competition in 2009, the Magpies were 4 from 6 at the start of play, snapping at the paws of the Tigers, unbeaten at the top of the ladder. Norwood was in 7th place. And in 7th place they would stay, because on a windy Saturday last weekend they could only manage 4 goals for the match. That sounds like a pretty poor effort from the Redlegs, but you have to put it in context. Port only scored 6 goals themselves. It was a day for missing as the wind swirled around Alberton Oval. Only 10 goals were scored, but 17 behinds were registered by the statisticians. But there were some standout performances. One of those came from 18-year-old Scott Burnett, last year's best and fairest winner for Port. Coming from the Salisbury West Football Club, Scott was voted best on ground for his 33 disposals, more than anyone else on the day. Timothy Broomhead picked up his 10th goal for the season. The 17-year-old from Port District Football Club made the most of difficult conditions, contributing 15 kicks and 6 handballs to Port's cause. For the Redlegs, it was another Aish doing a lot of the hard work. Son of Andrew and cousin of Joel and Jesse Aish, young James has been hiding out playing for Payneham Norwood Union. In his first game at under-18 level, James was voted number 1 for Norwood. Not a bad start. He's a keen cricketer, a natural footballer, and well, he's an Aish, of course. Our first look at a new Aish was positive, to say the least. 28 disposals and 5 marks for James. Dad would have been beaming with pride. But despite some strong work from the Redlegs, it was the Maggies who would win in rivalry round by 11 points over Norwood. Unbeaten in 2011, the Tigers have been cutting it pretty fine over the last couple of weeks. Winners by 1 point over North, and then by the same margin over West last week. Perhaps hardest hit of any of the clubs by college football and the upcoming under-18 national championships. Glenelg's luck finally ran out, and it was at the hands of Sturt, who were coming into this game with 4 wins from 7 starts. The 2010 premiers started strongly, and after a huge 9-goal second quarter with the aid of the breeze, they looked in control of the situation with 4 goals to Ryan Bartlett, taking him to 19 from the season from 7 starts. And Tim McIntyre from the Narracourt Football Club in the southeast added 3 goals to Glenelg's total. But the Double Blues were saving their best till last. Some extraordinary defensive work would restrict the Tigers to just 2 goals for the entire second half. And some wayward kicking, let's blame the wind, would see the Bays kick 8 behinds to accompany those 2 goals. But if Glenelg was wayward, Sturt was downright unruly, kicking 17 goals 19 in a very good attempt at throwing this game away. Once again, Adam Shearwood was very good whenever he got the ball in his hands. He kicked 4 for the afternoon, taking his season tally to 17. And also scoring goals was James Tripodi. Another 3 goals for James as he guided Sturt to undoubtedly their best win of the season. For the Tigers, Matt Wilson was voted best on ground, and Glenelg's CEO Rob Nelson wouldn't be too worried about this loss. The under-18 squad is doing exactly what it was designed to do: feed the league side with quality youth, whilst ensuring the state team is also well represented. But in round 8 it was Sturt by 25 points over Glenelg. These sides have already met this year back in round 3 down at Noarlunga Oval. It's a long drive down south from Elizabeth, but the Bulldogs relished every minute of it, winning by 10 goals on that occasion. So it was time for revenge, for the Panthers to once and for all shake the cellar-dwelling label. Well, not quite. South will have to stay at the bottom just a bit longer because the Dogs encountered little resistance as they cruised to a 19-goal victory. Ouch. All too easy for Central, all over after a 9-goal second quarter, which effectively killed off any hopes of salvation for South. And kicking 7 of Central's 24 goals was Dallas Hill. Last year, also against the Panthers, Dallas scored 3 goals in a match for the first time ever. 3 goals of a haul that would total 21 by the end of the season. This week, his 7 goals in one match took him to 14 for the season, and that's in just 4 appearances at this level. If he keeps going at this rate, he'll have 60 goals by the end of the minor round. Pressure's on now, Dallas. Best on ground for Central was Sam Cahoon from the Angaston Football Club. With 37 disposals and 8 marks, Sam ran rings around the Panthers' midfielders, and he scored his 4th goal for the 2011 season in the final quarter from a neat little hand pass from William Falland. South had some moments of brilliance, but not too many, to be honest. But Nathan Collihole managed to double his season goals tally with 3 on Saturday, and the captain, Tom Jolly, did his best to drag his side off the bottom of the ladder. But it was all in vain. The Dogs by 10 goals at the long break. They would go on to wrap up rivalry round big winners over South by the proverbial Nelson. 111 points at Elizabeth Oval.